I think one of the things that many of us as filmmakers overlook is having a strategy for getting our film into a film festival. And I include myself in that. We obviously invest in a good writer, producer, director, some talent, and so on. And we think that will do it. You know, if we have a good story, a well-produced film, that will get us through the door. But many of us don't really know which festivals we can get into, why they would like our film. We just make an assumption, if you will, that if it's good, it'll get in. But it's a very, very crowded space. Pretty much everywhere around the world, any of the top festivals, it's a crowded space. So perhaps we need help with that. Today I talk with Rebekah Smith, Dr. Rebekah Smith, I should say, who's a film festival strategist, and she's niched down into this space very successfully, helping many filmmakers get their films into top festivals. So if you're anywhere near that part in the filmmaking process of submitting your film to a festival or a bunch of festivals, then do stick around to watch this episode. Rebekah's very good on how to think about getting into festivals, the packaging, the thinking, everything really. So here's Rebekah. Rebekah.
Yes.
It's been a long time, 10 years or so since we last...
I was just thinking when we were at Cannes, I think it was probably like 2013 or something. It was something along those lines where it was a long, long time ago. But it's been a minute since we last connected. I'm glad we're here together today.
Yeah, and you've come a long way since then.
Yeah. So my company was like still in its grassroots phase, it was just it's still in the process of being established. But I remember when we were talking about it and your daughter's film and all that was interesting to hear about her. So she was like, she's probably like up and coming, well, still not probably up and coming, probably established now because she was already going places. So it was a nice environment to be in when we met.
Well, we should tell people what you do. You're not just a festival doctor. You've got a team with you now, yeah. And you get lots of filmmakers into very top festivals. What is it you do? You're a strategist. Talk us through the process. If someone were to come to you, a filmmaker, a little bit lost how to navigate the whole plethora of festivals out there, what would you do sitting down with that person and talk me through the process?
So typically people will come to me with a problem, that being that they want to get their film seen on the circuit, but they don't know which festivals to submit to. And we solve that problem by helping them get their film seen in the right types of festivals for their film. So the first thing we have to do is look at the film and unpack it and assess it. So what level interior festivals can this film do? Where best will it be placed? Will it be a certain type of country, a certain type of genre? There's many things that we have to take into account, not just the execution and the production quality and the story, but what festivals have an audience for this kind of film is a key thing. And then we have to ask the filmmaker about their goals, what they want to achieve, and then find the festivals that can help them achieve the goals with the film's quality and how easy it will be to program and how it might be quite difficult in some parts. So we give them a 360 kind of analysis, and it's that feedback that then creates the best approach to take. It's all down to the film. It's all about the film. And then we put together a list of festivals, around 45 or 50, to submit the film to.
Just a quick one. Mental performance, discipline, patience, psychology. We talk about this a lot in trading, and for good reason. It's a tough game to crack. Well, I've come across a little drink that helps with the mental performance and the focus. It's called Magic Mind. It contains various antioxidants, matcha, which is found in green tea, contains bacopa, which helps with memory, various mushroom compounds, again helps with memory and concentration, vitamins B and C. That cocktail of good stuff helps boost mental performance. I've been trying it for a few weeks and really enjoying it. Comes in a little bottle. It's just a shot, like knock it back, 1 or 2 swallows and you're done. Tastes a bit like passion fruit, I'd say, not sweet, suits me. And I swap out my coffees and teas and what have you in the middle of the day, and I find I get a more sustained boost without the crash or the heavy spikes and the jitters and all the rest of it that you get with heavy caffeine kind of drinks. So if you want to give it a go to magicmind.com/atraderslife, enter the coupon code TradersLife20 to get 56% off a subscription, 20% off a one-time purchase. If you don't like it for whatever reason, you can write into the company and they will give you your money back. So give it a go. I enjoy it. Might just help with your mental performance during the day. Okay, back to the show. And do you have a special relationship with a number of festivals? I mean, I guess you have almost by default now because you've been doing this for some time. But did you was that part of the process in those early years, not just working with the filmmakers themselves? Because I mean, obviously, you can help them package the submission and so on. But I imagine part of your offering is the fact you have a good relationship with a number of these festivals. So when they see something from you, they think, it's one of Rebekah's films, yeah?
Exactly. So it gives them confidence it's not going to be a drivel. They know it's going to be good, and is a very strong standard. So they know it's going to be a film that will probably fit the festival. It's all down to them doing anything with it. Is there room for it? Is there a film that's similar that could go with, or is it not going to work? So they know, they have confidence it's going to be something they're going to look into and that will be well executed and well made.
Okay, and what are you looking for in a film with respect to the top festivals?
It has to be a story that is fresh, innovative, interesting to a more mainstream and broader audience. It's got to have appeal to an audience that will be able to see the message in the film. So in terms of a short film, when it's a film that doesn't say anything important or new, it doesn't have an impact. So giving us like a different perspective on JFK. I have a documentary right now that looks at JFK's assassination differently from the point of view of Dallas and how it was treated, not just about JFK and the family, which we get a lot of. Give us something fresh and new. And a good execution is also crucial too. In terms of feature films, it needs to be a story that's going to be, again, different, fresh, not full of cliches or seen it all before, and, like full of stuff you've seen in the cinemas many times before. Or do something different, give a twist, and give us characters that we can relate to that speak really authentically with good dialogue. So it's quite complex in a way, because festivals want to see things that aren't the mainstream and aren't, seen it all before, Tom Cruise films that are going to sell. They're looking for stuff that's for a different type of audience.
I suppose that's, in a way, that's what you kind of would expect, that a festival wants something different.
Yes.
But are there certain kinds of issues, for example, or will they look at names, actors, directors, are there certain types of directors and actors that they kind of go for, do you find?
So there are some festivals that have their favorite kind of actors. Like, for example, Sundance do love Aubrey Plaza and Parker Posey. They always have an audience for them. There was a really good, feel-good, heartwarming film called Thelma that had a really strong cast, including Parker Posey, actually, that opened a lot of festivals, good regional ones, around the US and also abroad. Some of them have their favorite actors, but sometimes you'll find that it tends to work in a certain way, that you can have a film that maybe isn't the most original and is good, but not maybe breathtaking, but it has stars in that they can sell the film to their audience. And then other times you'll get a film that has no stars, but needs to be really strong to be able to get that slot. So celebrities and stars that are known, not just people that are on TV that no one's really heard of, or, celebrities in magazines that are like, trash magazines, got to be established kind of actors. Like, for example, Holly Short's, their opening night always has stars in. And one of the films I saw last year had John Travolta in, The Shepherd, that was shot in UK, but he produced it and is in it. One had Drew Barrymore as a small role. One was directed by Ricky Gervais and starred some very well-known British comedians. So stuff like that is what festivals go to. But somebody who's been on The Bachelor, for example, that's not going to be known, then no, needs to be, say, what we call the golden oldies. I had a film called The Guest and the Word that had Paul Dooley and Gunther from Friends in, and that had a big audience because everyone loves Friends.
You started in horror, didn't you? I seem to remember in Wales, the Wales festival there. And why horror? Was that just by chance you landed in horror? You're a big fan of horror?
It was like all by chance. So I was doing my PhD in Wales, Aberystwyth, and a friend of mine who I knew back when I was living in England in Worcestershire lived there, and he runs a cinema, and he was asked to put on a horror film festival by the Film Council of Wales because there is no film festival in Wales. Sorry, there is no horror film festival in Wales at that time. So he said, "Do you want to help out?" And I was like, "Yes." And I do like horror, but also I like the sound of a film festival. I didn't know really what they were until I connected with him. I was like, "Oh my God, I love this world. This like producing a festival is so much fun. Programming after guests. This is a riot." I think I prefer this to academia, and that's how I moved academia to the film industry. But he was really interesting, guys, because he did a really good festival that wasn't just film; it was also like a spoken word. There was presentations. There was a silent film with orchestra with a piano playing against it. There was a concert, so it was like really really fun, and that got me the festival bug. And it just started out to be horror. I realized that I was a horror fan, but I wasn't like a deep, passionate horror fan as some people were that were there. Like they knew horror inside out, and it was such a love genre. But I learned a lot from them, and also how to program at festivals, what they kind of look for, what types of horror, and also what kinds of horror stars are their favorites to bring into the festival and screen their films.
So what encouraged you to feel that you could do this, as a sort of entrepreneur on her own?
So I was getting a lot of experience knowing how festivals worked behind the scenes when I was programming and co-producing the Abattoir Horror Festival. And I was the one who was going to mainly more festival and markets. And I met more people there who were programmers because my job was to find films for the festival from sales agents when I was there. And I noticed how the world worked, and I thought there needs to be somebody, a strategist that helps people get their films into festivals because it's a little bit under the radar. Not many people do it. There's nowhere near as many festival strategists as there are sales agents. I mean, there's a lot of sales agents nowadays. There's nowhere near as many. So it was kind of a very niche, under the radar thing. I was like, this needs to be a bit more mainstream, and people need to have as part of their team a festival consultant because it seems to be lacking like dramatically. And it was during Cannes where that like this business proposal I put together, this like the business plan I gave people to read at Cannes, they all gave me good feedback and were like, well, it is a gap in the market, but you're going to have to prove it works because no one really knows what this is. So it was a long time proving it, to get this as part of people should have this person in their team. And then people realized that it is a minefield. And when more and more festivals started, coming out of the woodwork, and it all got harder and harder, people were like, yeah, we need to have a plan, otherwise we're going to be wasting money and getting no results.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
you obviously charge a fee for your services, but you could easily, as I have done, spend a lot of money submitting to festivals, even with quite nicely put together packages. But I don't know the festivals the way you do. You have this kind of inside knowledge and a vast experience of many different types of festivals. It's definitely filling a need, I would say. And I think as festivals become more crowded, as more and more people have access to cheap equipment, basically, so they can submit, even shoddy films, so even the fact that you're in a crowded marketplace means that it is going to be harder to get in. So I think if you've got somebody who can guide you through all that process, it must be an advantage, and no wonder you're getting those people through and they're winning awards, really, because you have that specialist knowledge.
Exactly. My motto is know your film, know your festivals. That's always I like to say on Instagram, but also just in my head, I always have that going around. So sometimes people do come with like, this will be perfect for Sundance, and it might not be. And if it is possible, then it's still going to be tough, but then it's worth a submission. If it isn't, there's going to be a better home for it that'll have the right audience. It's all about the audience at the festival. Some festivals have very, like maybe more mature audiences that are a bit more elderly that won't want to watch horror and slasher and gory things. Some festivals say to me that a genre, send us anything besides slashers because I don't want to screen them. So they have their preferences, so they're all kind of different. Every festival is different in terms of how they program, how they communicate, how they operate. So it's important to be flexible and adaptable, but also be open to the different types of programming and don't take offense if you don't get in, because sometimes it's just not what they're looking for because there's no one to see it.
Yeah. And so will you, if you see a film that you like, will you suggest that you submit to, say, the top 20 that are right for that kind of film, or will you go bigger numbers than that, or a smaller list?
And normally what we do when we put together the strategy, it's going to cover the whole 12-month or more period, because you can, with a short, you can tour the circuit for quite a while, even up to 2 years. But normally you just start with 45, 50 and see how the filmmaker gets on. So some festivals will be open, some might be not open yet. So we put like a whole list together in deadline order. And normally it's around that kind of 45, 50 mark. Some people, though, it's less because they haven't got a big enough budget. They don't have enough money to submit to that much. And some just want to do a certain genre, so it might be a lot less. They're all kind of different, but the norm and the average kind of like number for most filmmakers is 45, 50.
So let's say you're putting together a submission with the
Yep.
filmmakers. How hands-on are you? Will you kind of look at the copy and synopsis, the poster, and this kind of thing, and give feedback on that?
Yes. So it's very important everything is professional for obvious reasons. So we have to make sure the poster is tip top, and also that the trailer is strong and it's a strong synopsis that can actually help the festival programmer figure out where to program it. So a lot of the time what festival programmers do, not all of them, but a lot of them, they will look at the synopsis and think, oh, that could fit in the LGBTQ program, or that could fit in the poetry program. So it's important that synopsis is succinct and strong and tells the festival programmer what the film is about and its genres and its unique kind of strengths to it. So that's an important one to really nail that. And also the biography of the filmmaker and the headshot. Obviously, the headshot needs to be a headshot, not a selfie, but a headshot that's professional. And a bio, sorry, that is succinct and to the point and not the life story, the magical mystery tour, just right to the point. And the statement is also very important. I've actually just finished today doing my promotion for what makes a director's statement strong, how you put it together. And a statement is pretty much explaining in words the vision for the film and how you're filling a gap in the market, what's not been done like in your way and what you've been doing differently. But again, that just needs to be 1 or 2 paragraphs, not an essay. So you have to keep it succinct and sharp to the point that will stand out. And obviously, having stills is better than screenshots. Screenshots can sometimes be grainy, but having stills is a much better kind of option. Sometimes there's no other option but screenshots, but I really advise people to have an on-set photographer to take really good stills from the film.
Yeah. Do you make use of any BTS or not bother with that?
So BTS in terms of festivals, they don't really require that. That's good for Instagram and social media and website, doing a story like, day one behind the scenes and everyone was having fun. That's great for social media. Doesn't help get into film festivals. Festivals don't request that. And also it's important to make sure when you upload your stills to your Film Freeway project page, for example, that they are stills or screenshots and not BTS because they don't want to see that.
Yeah. So you started with shorts, and that was mainly fiction. I seem to remember when we first met, but you're now doing documentary,
Yeah.
aren't you, as well?
Well, it was a mixed bag. So I kind of started with everything, but you're right. The first kind of few clients, the batch of it was mainly short films, mainly narrative short, dramatic short, as opposed to documentary.
Yeah. And you've since moved on to bigger, well, longer pictures, both in documentary and feature, right?
So do pretty much now, we do everything. So we do feature and short, fiction, non-fiction, VR, immersive, podcasts. We also do episodics, TV pilots, unproduced screenplays, and branded content. So we do pretty much everything. There's a market for all of those. Some of them are very different to others in terms of festivals. For example, Tribeca have Tribeca X, which is branded content of that strand. And a lot of festivals don't always screen podcasts, which are documentary or non-fiction, only fiction, like Austin. So it's still very precise, but there is an audience for any kind of product. It has to just be a good product.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you go to these festivals where some of the bigger films are screening, in support of
Yeah.
the filmmakers?
So one of my films actually this year, short film, was Oscar shortlisted, called Bienvenidos a Los Angeles. And that did a really good festival run, tried all over the world, won a lot of awards, and that was great to get that far. So yes, I do. As I'm based in the US now, I do tend to travel a lot domestically. to festivals over the US. I've just got back from the Dead Center Film Festival, which is Oklahoma's only Oscar qualifying city. Oklahoma's only Oscar qualifying festival in the city of OKC, and that was really fun, really, really fun, and a lot of great filmmakers there that came from all over the world. So yes, my team in the UK tend to do UK festivals because I'm pretty much based here. So I can't fly too much because I have issues with my legs and my knees to go back and forth, but I can just about do a domestic flight.
Yeah. How did you end up in the States? I was going to ask.
So I was kind of feeling disconnected to the UK. I mean, obviously, I love the UK. I was born and raised there. It's the start. I mean, without the UK, without Abattoir in Wales, and without the UK, and without the amazing UK festivals, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I do have a lot of respect for the UK, and it is great. I just wasn't feeling connected with it to live there by around, say, 2018, 2019. And, I love being in Essex, but I was very much like, I'm ready to kind of maybe go to the US now and more connected there because I was traveling back and forth to the US all the time and it was getting draining. And I wanted to move my business here to have the headquarters in the US and be based here. So eventually I got here. I moved during COVID. That wasn't the best idea, I think. And there's a lot of issues at that time during COVID, but I got here eventually. And I'm now based in Dallas, Texas. I was going to go to LA, but it didn't work out. And LA's changed a lot since the pandemic. So I feel more grounded and suited here.
Okay. In what way changed?
So when the pandemic occurred, LA suffered really bad with the pandemic. It was pretty much in a long, long lockdown like the UK, I think. And people suffered, production suffered, but people actually left California, well, mainly LA, to move to places like here, Florida, Dallas, Texas, other parts of Texas, because it was just a different energy. Everything had changed. It's gone up in price a lot, LA now, than what it used to be. It's still been expensive, but it got higher. And the energy was off. And that was all kind of occurring during the pandemic. It didn't really occur as much in New York. Some people did leave New York, but it was more LA. So I just felt after what happened, because I had immigration issues there, it was really bad. I thought, I don't feel I want to live in LA. I'll go there for festivals for a couple of days. But to live in LA, it's not for me right now. But I knew Dallas really well, the film industry here. Not probably as much as I did LA or New York, but I knew it. And I thought I'd rather be here where I can feel more safer than LA right now. I'll see how it goes. I'll move here for a bit and see how I get on. And I'm totally grounded in it now. And it's a really, it's a great city. It's a lot of history to it, obviously, with JFK, but it's a great city. It's just Texas is a mad state. Texas is crazy, but in a good way to some degree. Is you just get on with it. But yeah, that's how I got here. Went to one state and came to another state.
So do you find it generally a bit more welcoming, perhaps? And you mentioned the immigration.
Texas has what's called the Southern hospitality. So it's very good. When they see, they actually mean what they say. And they will say, have a good day. They mean have a good day, not like, right, have a good day. They're not looking at you. They mean it. They go out the way. It's very friendly. It is a very nice state. It's very different to other states, a little bit more like hard. Work is a lot different to that. So I do find it. And the film industry is also very nice as well. It's smaller than LA, but it's really good.
You're also very near Austin, aren't you? Which is one of the big film festival cities.
Yeah. So Austin is, say, about a 3.5 hour drive, depending on traffic from here. So it's not too far. So yeah, it's a little bit further down, but it's really nice down there. So yeah, Austin is close to get to. You can fly there in 25 minutes, actually. So it's pretty good in that respect. People fly there a lot because it's so quick. And Houston's probably that's more like 4.5, 5, because it's further down by the Gulf Coast. San Antonio is a similar kind of drive. And yeah, so we're in a nice spot.
And how are you finding developments in the film business, especially the independent film business, in the last, well, really since the pandemic? I mean, obviously the pandemic was an absolute mess, but we've come out of that, and yet the model is changing a lot, isn't it? In terms of the interest, the emphasis is now much more on TV, much more on streamers, and so on. Very few independent films end up in cinemas, can make their money back, lots of filmmakers I talk to on this show put their own money into even feature films, never mind just short films, and they hope that's going to land them their second film where they get paid, and sometimes they even have to fund the second film. It almost, with a lot of filmmakers I talk to, it seems like a passion project but not a business. How are you managing that side of the change, this way things are evolving?
So yeah, this is an interesting change that we're in, obviously with the AI and all the strikes that happened. Obviously, LA was where the strikes occurred and everything was protesting. So I'm seeing it differently as not lack. A lot of people are worried that they won't have a job or they'll be this, that, and the other, and all these problems. But that kind of has been resolved with contracts, I think, during that strike. That probably was quite worthwhile. But also, I'm seeing with AI that, maybe not yet it's there, but there's certain jobs that are going to be really safe, and nobody can take from to give to AI creativity, individual creativity that really is unique to each person in their blueprint. AI cannot replace that. It might help cut some costs with, maybe some designs here and there to give an idea, but it can never replace humans or definitely not a festival strategist. So I see it as like welcoming, and I want to see how AI can help people, but not replace us. So I see let's work together, and the AI can do this to help that, and for me to then write stronger. So I know that AI is good for writers because my clients have said it's great that it can help us, get advice in terms of what we should do better and what to call this title, but to replace them, no way. So I see it as being like we can survive anything, and we survived the pandemic. We had 2 massive strikes, and people are still not back to work. It's possible. It's just, I think a message was to create more work yourself and be more independent and get a team around you that you can trust to bring the vision to life.
You mentioned branded content. I just wonder, was that something you moved into almost out of necessity because of the pandemic and the squeeze on everything in the film world in terms of income? Did that sort of make you feel, oh, I've got to, add on something to what I normally do?
It was more because small festivals were welcoming branded content, and the same with VR and immersive. In one point, VR was non-existent at festivals, and then slowly it became more popular. Not all festivals do it, because sometimes they do it VR, but then they haven't got the equipment, it doesn't work, and it doesn't end up working, so they have to get rid of it. But then some do it really well. And branded content, that is a newish one. Not all festivals do it, but the most beneficial for any kind of advert or like branded content kind of film is good promo for the filmmakers and the brands, almost like a proper, like gets recognition and gets rise above the surface. So it does have a lot of good qualities to it. So that's why if I see festivals want that kind of product, I'll find it to work on and know what they want, what they look for. At the time of branded content, they do look for commercials, and they do like ones with stars in, for obvious reasons. Because it will get an audience for them and help the product sell.
How do people find you? I mean, are you advertising at all, or is it mainly word of mouth and social media, i.e. organic, basically?
It's mainly organic. I don't really do much advertising in magazines. It tends to be referral, word of mouth, but also Instagram. A good place to start is my website, because that's very informative. It has both my Instagram accounts on there and more about me and the team and what we do, how we can help, the usual things on it. And also it's got a blog and a shop on there now. The shop is really good to get free resources or some lower price products. And the blog is really helpful if you're feeling stuck, to get to know us more and what we're about. So that's the best place to start. We got a nice variety of things to choose from and free content, and well as like reaching out to me too.
Last point, do you see yourself moving from, this festival doctor business into making your own films?
Well, I don't like producing a film. I like producing film festivals. I do have ideas in terms of what I'd like to actually create a fund to help a filmmaker that's up and coming make their first or second short and get that seen. So kind of more as a exec producer than actual producer. And what I'd like to do is to help that filmmaker get on the right path using Super 16, using film from Kodak, and actually go back to that, because that's a popular thing at festivals. I mean, more of. Obviously, it's expensive, but that would be a dream to collaborate with Kodak about that. Is my goal.
Okay, cool. Well, Rebekah, thanks so much for talking to me.
Thank you. It was great to connect after all this time. When the ladies told me, I was like, oh wow, it's amazing to connect with Nick again, because it was been so long. So it's been fantastic.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.